Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the 2024 High School Football Preview Show here on Mirror TV, on YouTube TV. I am joined again for the umpteenth season by Mike Boydham here, the Altuna Mirror Football Guru, the rookie in his third year.
I'm in my third year.
Andy Stein. My name is Scott Franco. I've worked with many people over the years here at the Mirror. We're glad to be back. We've been off the air for a while since spring stuff ended. Before we start talking about the games Mike's picked out for us, we want to acknowledge the new stuff we got. Windber football, a big fan, Matt
Macro
gave us a helmet here, and also somebody within the Tyrone football program whose name I don't want to mention, don't want to get anybody in trouble with the PIAA, but they donated a shirt here for us, so we have it hung right up there. And actually, if you want to hang something up as far as a logo, because maybe you want to sponsor the show, we are without a sponsor right now. All serious, we will welcome a new sponsor. We'll give you a number at the end to put on the screen. If you want to call, say if you're a business out in the Cove, or if you're a restaurant.
We could eat your food on the show.
Yeah, we would love that. How good the food is. You could drop off food. We tell you what's in it and where you can buy it and blah, blah, blah like that. But we'll have that number for you. But if you want, we're collecting, we decided T-shirts. I mean, we'll take anything because, look at the back of it. We have everything here. We have helmets, we have towels, we have stickers, shirts. But if you want to send us T-shirts, like I said, Tyrone started us here with the T-shirt. We'll take that. But with that said, let's get to the top games of the first week. Friday night, we got 4. Mike wants to talk about Holidaysburg at Altuna. Mike, you can start us off with this one. What do we expect in this one this year?
Well, I know that you've been talking about how Holidaysburg has kind of been building toward this year.
That's year. These guys have been really good for a while.
And if you look at their record from last year, you might not think they had that great of a season, but against the competition they played, they had a great season. And that season started off with a win over Altuna. And that's what they're going to be looking to do again this year. But this time it's at Mansion Park. We don't know what to really expect from Altuna this year. They lost a lot of players from last year. Brendan Freewall, the quarterback, graduated. Braun Mosley, the fullback, has graduated. And the fullback is probably the most important position for Altuna. Now, are we going to say that Altuna is a big underdog here? I wouldn't say so. Altuna always plays tough competition. They have a ton of players to choose from, and there's a lot of athletes at that school. So, it's a rivalry game. You never know what's going to happen in a rivalry game. But this is a game that Holidaysburg has circled, and they are going to want to get this victory to start their season off the way they did last year.
And if you look in our, if you looked at our Blitz magazine that came out a little bit ago, if you look at our preview magazine that came out, bigger Letterman picture for Holidaysburg than Altuna. Yeah. Do you read anything into that?
Just means you have a little bit more experience, and hey, that's a good thing. Maybe that's why they're building up to this year. Holidaysburg, they expect big things this year. You got to remember, this game came down to a last-second field goal last year.
You covered it last year. Yes.
Last year, it was an awesome game, and that's a tough position to put any high school kid in for the field goal. But hey, Altuna had his chances.
Our next game.
Another interesting thing about these two teams is a team that Altuna's been worried about the last few years, Mifflin County, is now a team that Holidaysburg's going to have to worry about because Mifflin County has dropped from 6A down to 5A. So
Central Mountain went from 5 to 4A. So,
down to 4.
And Altuna's got a tough schedule ahead because they lost Mifflin County and Taylor Alderdice.
Right.
And picked up
Bishop McDevitt and another, not one of the
Cedar Cliff or one of those Cedar Crest.
Yeah.
And Vince Humar, if you've read the stuff we've had in the paper and the blitzes, the preview, he hasn't shied away from this conference. He knows that they have to do well in it. And good for him. I like Vince. I'm rooting for Vince. Not this week, I can't, but I'm going to root for Vince. 9-1, Vince. 9-1, you can go. Our next game we're going to talk about, we're going to find out how good Penn Cambria is right off the bat. They're hosting Richland. Richland always has good people coming back, but so does Penn Cambria now, don't they?
Yeah, Penn Cambria has built themselves into a good program with Nick Felix up there. And this is kind of the year that they've been building toward, because last year they kind of surprised people. When Garrett Harold graduated, I think a lot of us were like, they'll take a step back.
Yeah.
But they did not take any steps back, last year. And in fact, they gave Central a much better game in the championship, nearly came away with the district title last year. And they have a lot of players back from that team. And this is the first time that they've hosted Richland since Nick Fields' first year up there. So this is a chance for them to get a huge win to start off the season. Richland played for the district championship game last year, lost to Bald Eagle area. And then they had lost in the semifinals the year before that. But before that, they had a long run of district championships. They were one of the best teams in 2A. And this year, Penn Cambria might be the best team in 3A in District 6.
And they have a Harold kid back. He's just on a quarterback.
Well, Gavin Harold, he'll play some quarterback.
Okay.
He's a really versatile player. They'll run him on reverses. They'll have him out of the Wildcat. They'll have him throw the ball occasionally. They have some really talented players. Plunkett is a good running back they have there. And we'll have to replace Carter McDermott, who was a very good athlete at wide receiver last year.
Now, in college, we always talk about if two good teams are playing each other, you're going to lose early, because then that way...
Yeah.
Now, can you even think about that in high school? Because, I mean, one loss couldn't devastate you. If you're going to lose...
Especially week one. Like, you never want a loss, period, but, like, you can recover in week one, and, you know, if that would happen, if you're, like, 7-8-0... and then you lose, that could, that could snowball in a season. But yeah, week one you can recover from that pretty easily.
I will say in Class 3A, a loss is a little bit more. You have more wiggle room there. If you lose a game in 2A, last year 2A was so stacked at the top that there were teams that only had 2 losses that were not sure if they were going to host playoff games, because the teams were just so good in 2A. Bald Eagle area is going to be good again. Now, Forest Hills has moved up to 3A this year out of 2A, so that lightens it a little bit. But Cambria Heights is back up to 2A this year, and they're going to have a really good season. So any losses are going to really affect the seeding at the end of the year.
And speaking of Forest Hills moving up to 3A, our next game, a 3A team, Tyrone hosting Clearfield. Tyrone's got their quarterback back. Clearfield, new quarterback back this year. So what are you expecting in this game?
Well, Clearfield does have a lot of players back, and they this game was another. Andy talked about the Holidaysburg game coming down. Then this game came down to the wire last year. Tyrone had a lead, and it just slipped away.
Punt. Wasn't there a bad punt?
Yes,
something happened.
Slipped away, and Tyrone has not had a lot of success against Clearfield over the years, and that was a chance for them to finally get a win over them. That was one that slipped away last year, and I'm sure it's something that's stuck with the kids that are still on the team. And Ashton Walk, who's coming back from Tyrone, he's had a great career. But he made it to the district championship, I believe, his first year, and they have not been back. They have not had the playoff success. I think that going into his senior year, you're going to see Ashton Walk want to put a stamp on his high school career, and he wants to leave there. Tyrone's had a lot of success in the playoffs, and he wants to have his name on that list.
And when you have two good teams like this, how much does it matter you're the home team? Because obviously last year, I was stunned because I thought Clearfield was going to beat Tyrone, and they did, but they had to come back to do it at home. How much do you give? If you're not that you bet or anything, but he does. Not on high school. Not on high school. We do not encourage betting in high school. But run that across producer Dan Eisberg. We do not encourage betting on high school. But if you were a betting man, and again you are, I mean, Tyrone at home, that's going to be worth something.
Yeah, I mean, home field, that definitely means something, especially while the home team, I mean, you don't have to travel that first week. I'm sure that's nice. But yeah, home field definitely does mean something. You're playing in front of your home fans, and I saw Miles Garrigan, Clearfield coach, just a few weeks ago. I know he's excited about this year, so yeah, I think this one could be one of the fun ones for week one.
Usually get about 3 points for being the home team.
Right? Is that Tyrone get 3?
So
if you go somewhere, okay, not that he goes anywhere to look for this stuff. Our next game, talk about going somewhere. we were trying to figure out the other night how long it would take to get to Glendale from Windber, because that's our other game Mike has a matchup. I mean, Windber is really good football team. Spanky Trexler up at Glendale. I mean, his kids, they may not be 8, 9 wins, but, Spank's a really good coach. And I always wish him well and everything. But this is a tough task.
Well, one thing I'm really excited about seeing up at Glendale this year, 2 reasons I've wanted to highlight this game. First of all, because we can have the helmets up against each other, which I would love to do for more of our matchups. And if we had helmets of certain matchups, we might put the game on the show because that's cool.
Look how far away Windber is, and we got a helmet.
Right.
Think of the schools that are so close to the Altuna Mirror building that we don't have a helmet for. Anyways, I digress.
But Glendale, the reason I'm really excited to see Glendale this year is the combination of Landon McGarvey and Dan Williams. These 2 guys are just going to be really tough to run and throw the ball against on defense. And McGarvey is actually going to be carrying the ball some on offense. And this kid's a great athlete. And I'm interested to see how they do. I also talked to Ryder Kreis at their ICC Media Day about his golfing ability. So I don't know how that really factors into the football. But as far as Windber goes, I will say that they are really excited about the season because Luke Hostetler is returning from an injury. Last year, Luke Hostetler ran for over 800 yards in 4 games. Not even 4 full games because he got hurt in the 4th game and missed the rest of the season. The kid averaged 12.6 yards per carry, and now he's back this year. So this won't be the last time you hear about Windber this year because Northern Bedford, who is going to have a really good season, is going to have a really tough time repeating as district champion because Windber and Northern Bedford are going to be on a collision course all season.
And speaking of collision courses, there too, our Saturday game, Bald Eagle area at Bishop Guilfoyle. Those 2 teams, if I'm correct, played twice last year. Bald Eagle beat them twice, beginning of the season, first game of the season, then beat them in the playoffs. Without wondering about our picks this week in the paper, Bishop Guilfoyle, not a lot back. I know Bald Eagle has their quarterback back, right?
Well, Bishop Guilfoyle would tell you that they have that they didn't have anything back last year because the problem was that so many kids got hurt as the year went on for BG. This year, they're hoping for a lot better health. And they played really well at like 7-on-7s in the off season. I know that they have improved. They have a lot of skill kids. Now, that was what Bald Eagle area had last year. Bald Eagle area had Carson Nagel, who they still have, coach's son. He's a very good quarterback, might be the best quarterback in the area. But the problem is a lot of his weapons graduated. Bald Eagle area has won 2 state baseball championships in a row. And a lot of those kids were on that team too. Just great athletes. And they've graduated a lot of those kids. So Bald Eagle area is still going to have a really good team. But the question is do they have the depth this year? BG may have more depth than them this year.
Which is kind of amazing because they're being the smaller school, at least BG's smaller school set. Yeah. I mean, before you came to us, you were down at Tyrone paper, so I think you got to see Bald Eagle maybe more. No, I remember covering Bald
Eagle. I saw Bald Eagle last year.
Okay.
I saw them against Bellwood last year, and I remember their passing game was phenomenal last year. That quarterback was really good. The Nagel kid. The problem is he lost a lot of those receivers last year, so... But hey, when you have the quarterback, hopefully you can still find the receivers because that kid has a lot of talent.
And I can remember covering for the Mirror when Nagel first took over at Bald Eagle as coach, and they came up to Central and they got spanked. Yeah. And I thought he'd be really miffed. And he was over there. He goes, I was telling my kids, he goes, look at that over there. He goes, that's what we want to be able to do someday. We want to be able to win games like that, and they kind of do right now. Yeah. So I don't think the days of Bald Eagle area being afraid of anybody. They're definitely not afraid of Bishop Gill, but that should be a great game.
Yeah, both of those games last year, too, were at Bald Eagle area. This will be the first time at Mansion Park under the lights and everything, so.
We want to do 2 quick hits before we get to our closing stuff. 2 other games to note. Mike wants us to know about Clayburg Kimmel at Berlin Brothers Valley. Southern Huntington and Northern Bedford. Berlin's really good.
Berlin's very good. They'll be one of the teams, along with Windber in the ICC. Remember, those teams are in the ICC now. They joined last year. But Clayburg, I wanted to talk about because they have gotten their quarterback back, Mason Campagna, who got injured last year, and that really hurt their offense. Clayburg actually scored a lot of points against Berlin last year in this game because when he was under center, they were a different team. So it'll be interesting to see how they do in this one.
And then Southern Huntington and Northern Bedford. Southern Huntington under Aaron Batesel, who is a Northern Bed graduate.
Yep.
Going up against his alma mater.
Tough year last year. Everything that went right in the years past went wrong, and this is where it all started. Northern Bedford and Southern Huntington played the first game last year, and I think they stopped the game early because there were so many injuries from both sides. And it really, Southern Huntington never recovered from it. And it took a while for Northern Bedford to recover from it. But I did just want to talk about those two games because both Northern Bedford and Clayburg have sent us helmets. And I like when teams send us
How do we not have a Rockets helmet? I would like to think that Mr. Batesel, unless he's living down there, but I think he has a dad who lives up in the southern portion of the Cove.
True.
Who could see that we might get our hands on a Southern Huntington. I bet you the Rocket logo would look cool. I would personally enjoy it. Look at that. Andy, you do not have a line of the week. Obviously, you won't have it till week 2.
Yep.
And we're not even going to ask you to predict, because that would almost be like a gambling.
No, I did that 2 years ago, and I had to apologize to Scott Gummo the next week. So, no, I swear.
Tyrone offensive line coach.
Next week, I'll call some coach, and will be my line of the week.
Mike, what about your stat of the week? What could be a stat of the week before we've even kicked off the 2024 season?
Well, I think the stat of the week is what I got to go with. 1 for 3. And 1 for 3 is, if you look at the three of us, I mean, these two guys are obviously much stronger than me. They're much bigger than me.
I know what he's talking about.
I'm a little bit.
I know what he's talking about.
But we're going to go 1 for 3 because 0 for 1, 0 for 1, 1 for 1, opening a soda bottle the other day. Now, I will say that they
one of the young ladies in our news
worked on it first.
Yeah.
I was the third person to attempt it, but I was able to open it. And, sometimes bigger isn't better.
I'm 59 years old, and my arthritis is a guy. So I just thought Stein would crush the bottle. I actually thought he was going to rip it off like Andre the Giant and just guzzle it.
I have a stat for you, too, to top Mike's one. My number is 1, and it is the amount of blisters I gave myself trying to open that bottle of Coke.
It was weird. It was comical. We're sitting there going, ugh. Mike literally walks over and just goes, and boom. Okay, and now the last thing, that's the thing everybody's been waiting for decades. The continuation of something that could be in the Smithsonian someday, the Scott Franco Cool Name segment.
I wanna know what's the name of the game.
But because of certain things we can't talk about on camera, we did not have any high school names prepared yet for this. So I thought, think of all those college football players who never had a mere YouTube TV show to talk about them. So as somebody who's a big fan of the Athlon Football Magazine, every week I'd come in and tell Stein names that I was finding. One of my favorite names, there was a cornerback in one of these schools, his name was Pig Cage. That was his name, Pig Cage. But anyways, I thought I went and looked up Washington State, and Dan Eisberg is going to spell this on your screen. Washington State has a running back. His name is DeJuvenesky Schlenbaker. DeJuvenesky Schlenbaker. You got to look him up in Washington State's online. That's his name. And then Texas San Antonio, which is in, I think, Conference USA, which a certain sports editor here does not like Conference USA, but Frank, I'm sorry, I said that out loud. They have a left tackle named Buffalo Cruz. Buffalo Cruz. That's a cool name.
Pretty good.
DeJuvenesky Schlenbaker is almost like, really, did you just make that up?
That's amazing.
You sat around, your name was Schlenbaker, and you thought, I'm not going to call you Tim or Joe. You're going to be called DeJuvenesky or DeJuvensky. DeJuvensky. So next week we will have certified high school football names from our Mirror magazine that you had in your paper this week. But that's going to wrap it up here for week 1. I think you can tell all three of us are happy to be back. You can't see Dan smiling behind the camera, but he is. He is. Trust that. But for Mike Boyd, for Andy Stein, for Dan Osberg, I'm Scott Franco. We will see you week 2 of the high school football show here on Mirror TV, YouTube on Mirror TV.
Let's rock and roll, boys.